The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
If you're listening here on Tony Kurre Radio and our network of great radio stations and podcasts, of course, you can pick up our podcasts wherever they're available on every major embassy out there. And also, of course, right here on our YouTube channel where the majority of people watch Mission Minded, a great show that we do. We talk about business. Make sure you hashtag Mission Minded. You can find everything we've done within years of shows, and another show called Bite by Bite, which is specific to the Heart of Alabama Food Bank and also Feeding America. There's been a lot going on in the government, and immigration are one of those things. That is, it's probably like the word of the year right now for 2024 and 2025. But how does immigration play into what you're doing at the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, Michael?
Yeah, so I see some of the challenges that when the president with his executive orders trying to get the undocumented individuals, and so far I've seen that the traffic is coming down. I saw it was less than 500 now a day that they're interacting with, whereas before it was thousands upon thousands every day. So they really slowed that traffic and engaged these other countries. What we see and what I've seen for years here in Alabama specifically is, we don't see, not that there's not a criminal element. That's not who I interact with. What I tend to see is immigrants who are coming over here who are hardworking individuals. They have a family. There's lots of agriculture here, and so they're here and to support a family. And again, I know immigration is a sensitive issue. I'm not at all for open borders. But when you see a young family who is battling hunger and they're here, that's when I step outside and say, look, immigration is a political issue. It's a real issue. It needs to be dealt with effectively. But when I have people who are in front of me, I just want to feed them, and because it's just generally my view is I want to look at people with compassion and the children and the families, the trauma already that they've gone through just coming through to this country and where they've come from. Lots of times this can be lawless, it can be poverty, all of that are traumas, and so they come here.
Real quick, I just want to back this up a little bit. We are so blessed here, but could you imagine, Michael Coleman, you have 3 children under the age of 5 and a wife, and you packing up your house one night and just taking what you can carry and walking 500 miles? That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. Not knowing where you're going. I mean, you got a 6-month-old baby. My thoughts and prayers go out to people like this. I know, and I don't know how hard it is, but I watch these stories and it breaks my heart to see that it's gotten such to be a big problem that we do have to, again, we mentioned throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just, it's got to be fixed, and it's going to be painful before we can get it fixed.
Well, and I get it. When you talk about immigrants, if you're trying to stop the border, you can make it sound like all immigrants are like MS-13 gang members.
Yeah.
And then the flip side is if you're pro-immigrant or pro-open borders, you make everybody sound like a hard migrant worker rather than the criminal element, the drug element, and all the things that are coming across. So, but the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. There's lots of criminal elements. I'm not for open borders for that reason. I think, we need to maintain and care for who's coming into the country. But regardless, when we have people that come to a food bank or come to a food pantry, and you can just see they're really struggling. And so, with the new laws, a lot of people are reaching out. A lot of our agencies are reaching out. What happens if ICE comes to my, shows up at my feeding? What do I do? And, so a lot of people are anxious about this. I know that some people have gotten caught up in immigration, like that don't have criminal records that have already been deported. Mm-hmm. I'm not willing to. I mean, I have such mixed emotions. I could present both sides of that argument, but what my job is when you see people struggling with that, and just struggling to survive, I'm going to do what I can to help them. But there's just, in the Feeding America network as a whole, there's just a lot of hand wringing and a lot of anxiety. Now, I think some of that's overblown. I don't think his intention is to prioritize people who are hardworking. We've talked about this before. There's so many crews where you have that are roofers and things like that hire Mexican immigrants, and I don't know whether they're documented or whether they're not documented, but I know, damn, they can replace a roof quick and do a great job and clean. They have such a great work ethic. I'll tell you this, it was a joke. I heard a comedian, but it speaks to the work ethic. He said, we are 3,000 years later trying to figure out who built the pyramids in Egypt. He said, well, there's also some pyramids in Mexico, but you don't ever hear about that because there ain't no doubt who built those. The Mexicans built those because they're such hard workers.
Overnight too, yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, that's why you get into an issue like immigration, and we can sit at home and say, good, they're rounding up people and getting them out of this country. And we can have a very black and white version until you're out there and somebody rings your doorbell and here they are holding a little baby and they're hungry.
Yep.
I mean, and I'm like, I'm going to take care of this person. And so that's just some of the battle. But we know I'm not anxious about this per se. But I do know my heart goes out to some of the hardworking people who want a better opportunity, because if I was into that country, I would be the same one trying to get into our country for a better opportunity.
Sure.
Again, that doesn't mean, because we're compassionate, that we have to throw our immigration laws or have a dumb immigration policy. But I don't blame them for trying to get a better opportunity, and I really appreciate what they bring to our country in terms of working and migrant workers and helping out on the farms and agriculture and all that kind of stuff. They do a lot for the country in that sense.
Well, maybe we're in this situation too because we weren't firm in the first place. You know what I mean? We
you could peel this back and go back into all the infancy of this and see where we really went off. I mean, I get it. Compassion leads us to make decisions, and then there's people who have ill intentions who come in and take advantage of that compassion. And then again, you're back to throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, okay, we can't decide who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. We're going to put them all out. But in the Feeding America network, there's a lot of just concern because in Alabama several years ago, it may have been 10 years ago, we came up with a strict immigration law. And a lot of people overnight went into hiding. And that hurts my heart as well to think about that there are people who there's help available, there's food available, but are scared of being deported, so they don't come for that. And people could say, well, they should go back to their country. Well, they're coming from a place where they don't have enough food and they don't have enough, opportunity. They don't have all that. So it's certainly worth the risk to them. Yeah. So all of that to say that the Feeding America Network and the 200 partner food agencies and the 60,000 pantries and agencies across our nation that deliver food to our community, everybody is having to get prepared for this and face this. And there's no easy answers when you're dealing with people, but it's just part of the nonprofit space, particularly with food banking, is caring for people, trying to do things in a legal way, but also a humane way. And so it's not easy, but it's something that has got to be done every day.
This is Bite by Bite.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.